Corina, where'd you stay last night? Corina, Corina, where'd you stay last night? Come in this morning, sun was shining bright. I left Corina, way across that sea. I left Corina, way across that sea. She wouldn't write me no letter, she don't care for me. Ain't got no potato, the frost has killed the vine. Blues ain't nothing but a good woman on your mind. The blues ain't nothing but a good woman on your mind. I said the blues ain't nothing but a if you see Corina, tell her hurry home. I ain't had no true love since she been gone. I ain't had no true love since she been gone. I ain't had no true love.
Hello, and welcome to Portland with Patrick. My name is Patrick Russell, and I'll be your host. Tonight's episode is part of a series about the arts and culture in Portland, Maine. And it's a great honor to have Chris Pulsoni with us tonight. I first heard Chris play in a basement show at Poland Street, and it really made my night to hear his music. It just, I was in a bit of a bluesy mood, and brought me out of it a bit. Chris is a real talented musician. He grew up in Munjoy Hill, right here in Portland. He's lived out in Hawaii, and he's back in Portland, living out at Peaks Island. Chris has recorded 3 albums so far. The first is called Back in the Woods, and it was recorded at Woods Edge Farm. And his second album is called Battery Steel, which he recorded with Sam Anderson Patnode. And the final album is Battery Steel 2 with Finn Sull, both recorded on Peaks Island. Chris is a founding member of the Resurgam Collective, which is a really exciting group here in Portland. Chris, thank you for being on the show tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Tell me, how'd you get into music?
I guess my first experience with music was as playing the trombone when I was pretty little, but one day I saw some people at my school playing guitar and thought I wanted to do that and picked up a guitar.
Awesome. So how did you learn how to play?
Mostly I've just learned from other people. Never had one teacher for a long period of time, but try to learn a little bit from every guitarist I meet.
Great. You must have hung out with some awesome guitarists.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So tell me more about the style of music that you play. How would you describe it?
I'm mostly influenced by the Delta blues, particularly from the 1920s up till the 1940s. There's a lot of recordings that Alan Lomax was responsible for, and a lot of the music that inspires me are some of the poorest people from our country who were recorded and never made any money off of what they did.
So tell me some of your blues gods. Who are they?
Kokomo Arnold is a great guy. Frank Stokes, Robert Johnson, Charlie Patton, and then big John Fahey and Leo Kottke fan.
Nice. And you were telling me about Alan Lomax the other day. Tell me more about his recordings and what's going on with them.
Well, what I understand is that Alan Lomax traveled around the South and recorded a lot of people on site on farms, and eventually traveled to the Caribbean and Russia and some other far-flung places. But recently I've learned that they're going to be putting a lot of his thousands and thousands of songs on the internet for free for people to enjoy. A lot of them never released.
That's really exciting.
Yeah, it is.
Very nice. Tell me about this guitar here. It's different than anything I've ever seen, really, up close.
It's called a Resonator, and it's the design, I believe, originated in the 1930s before electric amplifiers existed, and it was designed so guitarists could play with brass instruments and not be overpowered. So it has inside here an aluminum cone, which these strings are mounted on.
Yeah.
And that resonates when you strum the guitar, and the sound goes in here, comes out here louder than most other guitars you can find.
Nice. So what kind of guitar did you learn on?
I learned mostly on acoustic guitars.
Yeah.
Had an electric for a while, and since I got my first Resonator, I haven't had one since.
Yeah. Well, let's hear another song.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
the station, suitcase in my hand. Oh, I followed her to the station with a suitcase in my hand. Well, I was old, and all my love is in vain. And the train pulled up to the station. I looked her in the eye. And the train pulled up to the station, and I looked her in the eye. Well, I was lonesome, could not help but cry. All my love's in vain. In the train, it left the station with two lights on behind. In the train, it left the station with two lights on behind. Well, the blue light was my blues, and the red light was my mind. All my love's in vain. Thank you.
Yeah, tell me about that song.
Well, that's a song I learned from a Robert Johnson record. It came out in the 1930s, I'd say. Yeah.
Nice. So I'm sitting right here, and like I could barely tell what your right hand was doing. But I could see the slide clearly, but tell me like technically what's going on.
Well, I have this thumb pick here, and it's playing a rhythm on these bottom three strings, and this finger is pinching the top string, playing a melody, and they're acting pretty independent from each other. Yeah,
It's a lot of coordination.
It's called syncopation is
Yeah.
the proper term for it.
Nice. Man, awesome. Well, tell me about Hawaii. What was that like?
That was a pretty wild experience. I basically went to stay with some friends for a while and ended up becoming a caretaker of a 3-acre piece of land that my friends were trying to turn into a farm.
Wow.
And lived there for a total of 13 months on the same piece of land. And basically was a gardener and did that work in exchange for rent.
Yeah. So you were going out to visit and ended up just
Supposed to
living
be a
there,
3-month
right?
visit, but it ended up being a 13-month
Wow.
adventure.
And what part of Hawaii was this in?
It was on the Big Island near a town called Pahoa.
Yeah. And how far from the ocean is that?
How far from the ocean?
Yeah.
It was about 8 miles directly to the ocean, 14 to the beach.
Nice. Did you learn any Hawaiian language while you were out there?
Yeah, there's English and Hawaiian. They mix the languages together a lot. Most people don't speak Hawaiian, but they'll throw in Hawaiian nouns when they're speaking English, so
Yeah.
learned plenty of words.
Can I hear some?
Well, pala pala means paperwork.
Yeah.
Papa, I believe, means mother, and wakea means father, which is pretty interesting to me.
Yeah.
That it's backwards like that. It's an interesting language. There's only 12 letters.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Different. Did you play any Hawaiian music out there, or?
Not really.
Yeah.
They play in a lot of open tunings, similar to what I play. But it's a very different thing going on with the right hand, I think.
Yeah.
Different rhythms, different notes,
Yeah.
different scales.
So you did some interesting video work out in Hawaii too, you were telling me. What
Yeah,
was that like?
It was, well, there's a group called the Lawful Hawaiian Government, which is some Kanaka Maoli, which is the Hawaiian word for Hawaiian,
Yeah.
who are in the process of taking their country back and becoming their own independent nation. And I worked as a videographer filming their meetings and putting some public service announcements out to their community.
Wow. Do you think it's going to happen?
Oh, it's already happened.
Yeah.
They have their own IDs, their own license plates, and don't pay in the United States any taxes. There's about 20,000 of them in Hawaii.
Man, must have been interesting.
Yeah, it was a total shock to find out about that.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting.
And tell me about your garden.
My garden in Hawaii?
Yeah.
Planted a lot of fruit trees and coconut trees. And grew some basil and cooking herbs.
And you just learned this all while you were out there?
Yeah, I just had this land that needed some things planted on it, and went to the library and got some books and started playing around in the dirt.
Awesome. So you left Hawaii and you came back to live out in Peaks Island. Was that connected at all? Liking the island lifestyle?
Yeah, I definitely was drawn to Peaks Island, just because it's an island, and I like the way the communities of islands work.
So can you compare them at all?
Oh, they're totally different. Yeah, I don't know if I could make a comparison right now. I don't know a whole lot.
Yeah, there might not be one out there.
But there's not as much food growing on Peaks Island. A lot
Yeah.
more lawns.
Right. So I think your album is really interesting, the way you recorded it. Talk about that a bit.
Which album?
Battery Steel.
Yeah, with Battery Steel, the first one and the second one, I just had a handheld SD card recorder and went deep inside the tunnel with Battery Steel and hit record and played. It didn't really do any editing. It was just all pretty raw.
Yeah. For anyone that hasn't been to Battery Steel, it's pretty dark in there. How did that work out?
Brought some flashlights and candles and stuff, but yeah, it was hard to see.
Yeah.
All the same.
You think it changed the mood of your performance?
Oh, I'm sure the lighting would always affect the mood. So.
Yeah. So you write songs also yourself. Do you want to play an original song?
Not particularly.
Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
still working on those, I guess, and
Yeah.
not as comfortable with that
Cool, man.
part of my music.
Did you want to play another song, or?
Sure, I'll play another song.
All right.
Paddling, Madeline, paddling, Madeline, home. Sweet, sweet Madeline, I'm paddling, Madeline, I'm paddling, Madeline, oh. peddling, meddling, sweet, sweet meddling home. Paddling, Madeline, I'm sweet, sweet Madeline, I'm peddling, Madeline home.
That sounded great.
Thanks, Patrick.
Tell me about that song.
That's song was recorded by Kokomo Arnold, 1930 sometime, and when he first put it out, he didn't have any music out, and he was under the name Get Fiddle Jim, and it's one of my favorite recordings personally. Just the way he plays it is a little different than I do, and the sound just blew my mind when I first heard it.
Yeah, same. When you hear a song and you want to learn it, tell me about, what do you do? How do you learn the song?
I like to put the record on and listen to it while I'm working on something else besides music and get it in my head pretty good, and then pick up the guitar and play around, go back to the record, and just go back and forth till it feels comfortable.
So it's all by ear. You're not like looking up anything online?
Usually, no.
Awesome. So we're running low on time. I want to ask you about Resurgam Collective.
Sure.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, Resurgam Collective is a record label here in Portland, Maine, and it was started by myself and Gail Robin and Maureen Eberhardt, and we collaborate with local videographers or sound technicians who are mostly looking to gain experience by doing work for free, and don't exchange money between each other, and basically kind of skill share to get records put out.
Awesome. Yeah, it's one of my favorite things about Portland is just people working together and helping each other out.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
think that's, your collective really embodies the spirit of Portland with that.
Oh, thanks.
Well, Chris, thank you so much for being on the show. I always love hearing your music, and
Thanks, Patrick.
it's really
It was
great having
to
you.
be here.
And for those of you out there watching, I hope you enjoyed the show, and check it out again next week. There'll be another interesting, awesome guest, and have a good night. All right, that's it.